Hello friends, welcome to Civil Dunya. This is the video of module 4 of entrepreneurship development. In this video, we will study about sickness of small scale industries, causes and symptoms of sickness, cures of sickness, role of banks and governments in reviving industries. So let's get started with module 4. Industrial sickness. The Reserve Bank of India has defined a sick unit as one which has incurred a cash loss for 1 year and is likely to continue incurring losses for the current year as well as in the following year. And the unit has an imbalance in its financial structure, such as current ratio is less than 1:1 and there is worsening trend in debt equity ratio. Criteria to identify sickness or incipient sickness. The following criteria were adopted to identify sick or incipient sick units in the third census, which are: number 1 is continuous decline in gross output compared to the previous 2 financial years, delay in repayment of institutional loan for more than 12 months, and third one is erosion in the net worth to the extent of 50% of the net worth during the previous accounting year. Reasons for sickness. About 66% of the sick or incipient sick units were facing lack of demand, followed by 46% facing shortage of working capital and 36% facing marketing problems. Causes for sickness or incipient sickness. The FICCI study entitled Industrial Sickness, Dimension and Perspectives says that the causes of sickness are both internal and external, often operating in combination. External factors are government policies on pricing, duties, taxes, high interest rates, taxes on profit, slackness in demand, sluggishness in export markets, high labor cost, inadequate availability of inputs, lack of infrastructure, and the like. The internal factors which contribute to sickness are wrong planning in relation to location, technology, capital cost, technological obsolescence, management deficiencies, and industrial unrest. Given below are the details about these external and internal factors. External factors. There are some reasons of the external factors causing industrial sickness in India. First one is general recessionary trend. Sometimes a general depression hits industrial units. This is reflected in lack of demand for industrial products in general. An overall slowdown in economic activities affects the performance of individual projects. Improper demand estimation for the products to project lands the industrial units in difficulties. Second is high prices of inputs. When the costs of manufacture are high and sales realization low, the industrial units cannot stand in the market. This happens when the prices of inputs such as price of fuel such as petroleum during energy crisis goes up, whereas the competitive forces keep down the prices of the products. Third is non-availability of raw materials. When the supplies of raw materials are not available regularly or in good quality, the industrial units are bound to be in trouble. This often occurs in case of supply of imported raw materials. Fourth one is changes in government policies. The industrial sickness is also caused by certain changes in policy designs of the government. These frequent changes affect the long-term production, financial and marketing planning of an industrial unit. Changes in government policies regarding imports, industrial licensing and taxation can make viable units sick. For example, liberal import policy since 1991 has rendered many small-scale industrial units sick. Fifth one is infrastructure bottlenecks. Often the infrastructure difficulty is responsible for industrial sickness. No industrial unit can survive prolonged transport and power bottlenecks. Internal factors. There are the important internal factors which are often responsible for internal industrial sickness, which are: first one is project appraisal deficiencies. The industrial unit becomes sick when the unit has been launched without a comprehensive appraisal of economic, financial, and technical viabilities of the project. Second one is industrial unrest and lack of employee motivation. When there is labor discontent, no industrial unit can function smoothly and efficiently. When labor lacks motivation, no good results can be expected, and this results in sickness and non viability of several industrial units. Third one is wrong choice of technology. If the promoters use wrong technology, results are bound to be unsatisfactory. Many industrial units, especially in the small scale sector, do not seek professional guidance in installing the correct machinery and plant. If the machinery and plant installed turn out to be defective and unsuitable, they are bound to suffer losses and become sick and non viable. Fourth one is marketing problems. The industrial unit becomes sick due to product obsolescence and market saturation. The industrial unit becomes sick when its product mix is not attuned to the consumer's demand. Wrong location. If the location of an industrial unit happens to be defective, either from the point of the market or the supply of inputs, it is bound to experience insurmountable difficulties. Sixth point is lack of finance. Inadequate financial arrangements or in the absence of timely financial aid in industrial unit is bound to come to grief. It will not be able to withstand operational losses. Seventh point is improper capital structure. If capital structure proves to be unsound or unsuitable, especially on account of delayed construction or operation, it will result in cost overruns or under borrowing and create financial trouble for the unit concerned. Eighth one is management deficiencies. The biggest cause of industrial sickness is the managerial inefficiency, lack of professional management or experienced management, and the existence of hereditary management is an important cause of industrial sickness. Inefficient management results in inability to perceive things in proper perspective, devoid of routine considerations. Inefficient management is also unable to build up good team and inspire confidence for an organized collective effort and takes autocratic and high-handed decisions. Voluntary sickness is the ninth point. There is some sickness which is voluntarily invited by the entrepreneurs for various motives like getting government concession or aid from financial institutions. Thus, industrial sickness cannot be attributed to any single or simple cause but may be the result of a combination of number of allied causes. An analysis of 637 large-scale units identified that deficiency in management was responsible for 52% cases of sickness, while labor troubles caused sickness only in 2% of the industries. Market recession and environmental factors came second with 23%. The other causes were technical factors and faulty initial planning 14% and infrastructural factors such as power cuts and shortage of critical inputs are 9% of the 637 large units. 350 could be put back on the track. Of these 221 units with the outstanding credit of rupees 1125.06 crores were put under the nursing program. Here are the symptoms of sickness. It has already been mentioned that industries do not fall sick overnight, rather than process of failure can take number of years. This implies that the signs of sickness may be discernible quite early in the life of an industry. These warning signs in several functional areas are termed as signals. In fact, the timely identification of various signals makes the detection of sickness easier. Therefore, the various signals need to be identified and monitored at an early stage of sickness. The important signals of industrial sickness are: number 1 is decline in capacity utilization. Number 2 is shortage of liquid funds to meet short term financial obligations. Number 3 is inventories in excessive quantities. Number 4 is non submission of data to banks and financial institutions. Number 5 is irregularity in maintaining bank accounts. Number 6 is frequent breakdowns in plants and equipments. Number 7 is decline in the quality of product manufactured or service rendered. Eighth is delay or default in the payment of statutory dues, such as provident fund, sales tax, excise duty, employees state insurance, etc. Ninth is decline in technical deficiency, and number 10 is frequent turnover of personnel in the industry. Cures for SSI sickness. The following measures can be taken to improve the efficiency of SSI and to prevent sickness. In a market-oriented economy, SSIs must put greater emphasis on pragmatic planning of their functions and discover new markets with innovative products or services. Success for an SSI depends upon accessibility to market information and using the same effectively in business operations. The internet has revolutionized the world, and SSIs must become net savvy, especially in marketing their products. More thrust should be given to research and development for product innovation, quality improvement, cost reduction, and so on. More attention must also be focused on promoting professionalism in management and providing frequent training to update entrepreneurial skills and so on. The infrastructure facility should be improved by the state to enable a smooth functioning of the SSI activities. The modernization of plant is of utmost importance at present among the SSIs to strengthen their competitive edge, and for which the government should assist by providing adequate finance at liberal terms. The SSIs must give attention to adequate marketing arrangements with the prospective buyer to get regular orders and also undertake continuous market research. The products of SSIs are widely advertised in the media for the adequate publicity and for the better reach. SSIs will have to make special efforts for collection of their dues for their growth. They may have to utilize the services of factoring for the purpose. It is imperative that SSIs familiarize themselves with inventory control techniques to reduce the cost of working capital. Government policy to deal with industrial sickness. There are some government policies to deal with industrial sickness. The policy framework in respect of measures to deal with the problem of industrial sickness has been laid down in the guidelines issued in October 1981, which were subsequently modified in February 1982 for guidance of administrative ministers of the central government, state governments, and financial institutions. The central government has set up a board for industrial and financial reconstruction BIFR with effect from January 12, 1987 in pursuance of enactment of the SICA Sikh Industrial Companies Act 1985. This is a major step for intervening at an early stage and detecting, preventing, as well as taking ameliorative, remedial, and such other measures which need to be taken with respect to sick and potentially viable companies. A number of measures have been taken to tackle the problem of industrial sickness. The importance of detection of sickness at the incipient stage has been emphasized by the RBI since its inception. Up to the end of March 1998, BIFR received 77,158 applications. It is to be remarked here that the number of cases being registered with the BIFR has been decreasing gradually. Till October 2002, the board has sanctioned rehabilitation schemes of 74% central and PSUs. It has so far recommended winding up for 1,303. A small set of 485 companies have been declared no longer sick and have been discharged from the purview of SICA. Since net worth of these public and private companies turned positive after the implementation of rehabilitation schemes. The Industrial Reconstruction Bank of India (IRBI), set up in 1985, has initiated various steps for checking the growth of industrial sickness and helping in industrial revival. Out of 393 units assisted by the IRBI till the end of June 1986, 136 units have been revived. By March 1997, cumulative financial assistance sanctioned and disbursed stood at rupees 4,312 crore and rupees 2,954 crore respectively. The IRBI was taken over by the Industrial Investment Bank of India in 1997. It functions as the principal credit and reconstruction agency for the industrial revival. A significant measure taken during 1986 was the setting up of Small Industries Development Fund (SIDF) in the IDBI. This is meant to provide special financial assistance to the small scale sector. The government has set up two funds, the Textile Modernization Fund and the Jute Modernization Fund. For modernization in the textiles and jute sector, under three funds, assistance is provided not only to the healthy units for modernization at 11.5 PC rate of interest, but also to sick but potentially viable units. Special loans are given to the weak units for meeting a part of the promoter's contribution. These special loans carry 6 PC rate of interest with a repayment period of 12 years and an initial moratorium period of 6 years. Meanwhile, the government appointed a committee on industrial sickness and corporate restructuring in 1993 under the chairmanship of Onkar Goswami. The committee recommends liquidation of sick concerns instead of their rehabilitation. Government is now considering the repeal of SICA and winding up of the BIFR. It is feared that in view of the 2008 recession, in the immediate future, large number of sick units would be closed down, thereby raising the boze of unemployed workers. Okay, so by completing this video, we also completed the series of in entrepreneurship development, and I think we all understand the concepts of entrepreneurship development. If you gain some knowledge from this series, please like the video series of entrepreneurship development and also stay tuned with Civil Dunya for more information on civil engineering. Okay, thanks for watching.